Welcome back. So you've bought your deck, you've cleared it, you've attuned it to your energy by working with it for a period of time, taking it slow. I actually really do recommend to take it slow. Now, I'm going to probably assume that 90% of people are just going to go right into it with their first deck, and that is okay. I did that too. But just in hindsight, the working with it on a slow scale, on a slow sort of basis, it really does help when you want to jump into working with a deck with clients. It's one of the best ways of doing that. And I'm assuming everybody eventually wants to start working with these decks with clients, because that's how more and more people get awakened and in touch with this type of oracle, with this type of, we used to call it fortune telling, but now it's oracle, it's divination. It's that connection to your higher self. So let's talk a little bit more about shuffling and drawing cards and what all that looks like. There are so many different ways of doing this. Now, shuffling, it really, that's dependent on the, like, how stiff is the deck. Sometimes you have big hands like me, you can hold them and you can shuffle them. You know, you can't really see that, I'm sorry, my table's down a little bit lower. You can shuffle them like you would a normal deck of cards. Yeah, I don't know if I can get that on there with one hand. And that's okay. I don't really recommend doing that thing where you bend it and they all fall down, if you know how to do that, because then you can really start seeing the wear and tear on a deck. So be a little gentle. Sometimes with regards to some decks, it is really hard to shuffle them. So that first time, I will seriously just lay them down and I'll start moving them everywhere. I'll move them everywhere. I'll get them so mixed up. Maybe even do this, you know, on the clean floor, whatever it might be. You just get them super mixed up over and over again. Get them all over the place. So that's another perfectly acceptable way to shuffle, just like that. And this is also, guys, this is a really perfectly acceptable way to, I'm going to even spread them more out with two hands and shuffle them even more. It's a perfectly acceptable way to start drawing cards. I've been to a couple of fortune tellers, and you might even know that if a card falls off, oh my gosh, did you tune into me on the last video? It's that same card that just showed up. That's meaningful. That's very meaningful for this set of videos. So how cool is that? So this is a good way to, right there, I just decided, and I felt that decision inside me, like, oh, that card that just fell down while I was shuffling, that's a card that needs to be talked about, that I need to bring to my attention as part of making this video and this experience that I'm having today. And that's so cool. I love cards. So that's fun. I'm going to keep that one out because I'm going to meditate more on that one tonight. That one's going by my bedside. So, but you can do that again with all of your decks. So you shuffle them all around and you get it in a situation that looks a lot like this. There's just cards everywhere. Okay. And so with this, I always take my non-dominant hand. So that's my left hand, because the right hand is the sending hand and the left hand is the receiving hand. Okay. So that's why I always put, like in yoga, when you're lying there after you do Shavasana, I put my, I'm sending love to myself, and I'm receiving it from my womb space, which is my creation space. So it's an interesting kind of concept, but that's how it feels natural to me. So anywho, okay, let's use your non-dominant hand. So I'll take my left hand, and this is where I can close my eyes if I want to. I would just energetically, I would say, okay, let's find a card that this situation calls for. Okay, so I'm closing my eyes. So there's another card over here that this situation calls for. Ooh, the scared card. So this is going to say a lot of people are nervous their first time. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's no wrong way to do this. There's only the right way for you right now. The way I draw cards has changed throughout the time that that I've been reading cards. I'm trying to think back of the way I used to do it very first. And I think I used to think of a number, and that would be the amount of like cards I'd pull off the top, and then that would be the one. So if it was 7, I'd pull, the 7th card off the top. That would be the one that would be for them. It started taking a really long time. I got to tell you that. I was like, okay, guides, that was cute, but that's taking forever. I can't be doing that every single time. And so it evolved. So don't be scared, and don't think that you have to be so rigid to stay with a particular type of shuffling or drawing your cards. So let me get these all back into a nice little stack, keeping that nourishment card out for me for later. which is so cool. I love that. I love that when that happens. So one way that's a really nice way of drawing cards out, let's see if I can do this. And you want a cloth, mine's sliding off, so it kind of catches. A very smooth table would make this difficult. And you see, I don't do this because I don't have a lot of space. This is the space I have. This table is the space I have to do readings where I'm at. I'm blessed that I'm able to do this in my house, but it's not a lot of space in this little teeny tiny house. So I would draw these out when I had an office and I had a really large area to work with. And then I do that same thing where I'm guiding my hands over, and let's see what card needs to come out now. This one right here. So this is a blessings card. I'm going to set my phone back down here. So you're going to, the types of blessings you're going to be receiving from experiencing what it's like to connect to the energy of the cards and to really feel what I mean by like, oh, this one wants to come out now. And so this is just a process of doing it. Sometimes that's why I needed that other verification, like think of a number, or I had the other person think of a number, and that was how many cards I drew off. I really gave it up to them a lot in the beginning, and that's okay. But the blessings that I received was as I deepened, as I was like, I need to go faster, I need this to be more of a sort of a flowing reading, I was able to really say, okay, I can trust my intuition. I can feel the hit. Where does my hand tell me the next one to turn over is? You know, with gentleness, you go slowly. You take that time to connect with your own body, to connect with that you're reading your energy signature. So this is something that's very, very beautiful to start doing. And that beginning is just feeling the pulse of where it is, where your hand is when it's lying over a series of cards. And this is nice because you can draw a whole reading. If you were going to do, you know, a 3-card reading, you could take all 3 of your cards out and lay them right here, and you would have space. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So that's one way of drawing cards. So the other way, I was saying, let's say I thought of the number 3. So I would do 1, 2, and this would be the 3rd card. This would be that's a new approach, you know? And after a while, I needed a new approach. That one didn't work out for me. It's still okay. And that's really cool. If you wanted to give your client a number and say, let's have you draw a card, it's a way for you to energetically allow them to touch your deck without touching your deck. Because that's another thing. And when you are doing in-person readings, you have to do a lot more clearing and cleansing of your cards each and every time somebody else touches your deck. And so that's why a lot of people, that's taboo. And I tend to be the one that touches my decks, although I was doing in-person Reiki for a while, and I did use my Archangel deck and another deck that was similar to the Soul Trees, and I let my clients touch them. But each time I did a cleansing ceremony, because any other energies that may have attached to it that are not mine, I don't want them there during my readings. So you can do it. Somebody else can go ahead and look at your decks. You don't have to be like super strict on that. But just know that it does take a little bit of time in between to take care of your cards, just a normal cleansing routine. So here's one of the ways that I more recently started to draw cards. The other videos were shorter, so I didn't need the water. I really liked watching them jump out. Some of the very few times I will get a card reading for myself on Facebook, I was being drawn to people that were drawing this way, and I was like, I gotta try this. So we're just gonna do it. We're gonna draw until a card flies out. Okay, there was 3 cards that sort of flew out right there. Is it 3? Is it 4? So if I do this and I'm with a person, I'll be like, okay, pick a number. And, then I love doing that. So if it's the 3rd number, it would be, kindness. There needs to be some kindness in this situation. So if we're dealing with let's say a romantic situation, like there's a cute little heart here, to feel that with love, I would say, okay, regardless of whether you want to be right, you've got to be kind in this situation. You've got to just let it go. Let the ego go. The ego needs to be right. But with sending love and kindness, it can really make it so that right or wrong, it doesn't really even matter. You can see beyond that situation. So that's one way when you have multiple cards jump out. If I'm not in front of a client, I'll do that same thing, guys, where I'll just take the 4 cards that jumped out and I'll guide my fingers and there I got the kindness one again. I didn't remember where I put it down, I promise. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, it's something that you can experience it that way. if 3 cards pop out, I really like that because I just take the middle one every time. So if it's 3 cards that fall out, or if it's an odd number of cards that fall out, I'll just skip the whole pick a number or energy and I'll take the middle one because I like that. That's the way that my guides and I have sort of worked out that I can receive a card. So sometimes like that, the card just flies out. Did you see that so fast? Begin now. So no more delaying. It's time to start drawing cards for you. It's time for me to get off the phone, off of the video here that's happening on my phone, so you can begin now. All right. Have fun practicing, and I'll see you again soon.